Good evening and welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting of Monday, April 25th, 2022. Pursuant to the governor, we're having the meeting in person, and I see we have somebody that's going to be on Zoom as well. So with that, welcome, and I'll officially open the meeting, and being 7 p.m., do we have any public comments? Seeing none. Do we have some minutes we want to get done real quick, like before?
I just sent out the minutes from the 7th today, and I haven't done the 4th. They're both really short minutes, but I have no time to do them. So,
Just got these,
yeah, so those just got sent out this afternoon, and I'll send out the other ones in the next couple days, and we can do them all on May 16th.
All right. Can we get out of conditions for Hope Ave real quick, like Jane?
You can sign the last page. It's been mostly drafted, but there was an additional piece of information. You have to close it first. There was an additional piece of information that came from the Representative Russ, based on what you talked about, putting bounds in at the 25-foot no disturb area, or the lower level anyways, and then not mowing it anymore, and even perhaps taking native twigs from the adjacent area and plugging them in the ground. So that'll just be boilerplate information. It's all boilerplate. The Board of Health has approved the plan, and so the commission's, you have to make sure that there's not going to be any siltation, and that it's going to be better than it is right now. So in theory, that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
So you need to close the hearing
Okay.
first, and then, I guess, vote to sign it with the boilerplate, the order of conditions, with a boilerplate attachment that has to do simply with the bounds and the, well, the one I usually use.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to close
No,
15?
no. It's under continued filings.
What's that?
It's under continued filings,
I know it, but, okay, but,
so you can't do it till 7:15.
oh, okay,
listed on
okay,
the
all
Cocasset
right,
and Lake
okay.
are both still open.
You're right,
hearing.
okay, all right. Time then, all right.
This is a notice of intent, which.
It's okay, I've got 7:05 PM. We have a request for determination pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetland Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267. The Conservation Commission will open a public meeting on Monday, April 25, 2022 at 7:05 PM in the Gala Meeting Room, Foxborough Town Hall, 40 South Street, and via Zoom on a request for determination of applicability filed by DCR State Forest to reroute an existing trail near Wolf Meadow in the State Forest on Mill Street, Assessors Map 102, Parcel 001, within 100 feet of a wetland resource area. The application is available for public inspection, etc. Want to come on up, sir? And just for the record, your name. We all know you, but
My name is William Ashton. I'm the supervisor of the F. Gilbert Hill State Forest. I'm appearing on behalf of the agency for this filing.
okay, you want to give us a little brief rundown what you'd like to do?
Sure. So it's nice to see everyone in person again. It's been a while. So over the last 7 years I've been here, we've been undertaking.
Has it been 7?
It's been 7 years. Hard to believe, isn't it?
Yes.
We've been undertaking a series of projects to better the conditions of the trails in the state forest, specifically the motorized vehicle trail, which has been kind of neglected for a number of years. A lot of the trail system in the state forest was put in during the 70s and the 80s, and it was what they call ridden in. So basically, just a section was flagged, and then they'd have a enduro event, and it would utilize that flagged route, and then that was the trail in perpetuity. So that's, obviously done against like sustainable trail practices and all that type of thing. So trying to evaluate sections of that trail system and, establish better stormwater runoff and a better tread surface and a better experience for our users. This application actually has two specific parts to it that are within, 300 yards of each other about. The first of which is the reroute of a section of trail that is one of these fall line trails. It basically goes straight downhill, and it's a gully probably about waist to chest deep on me, so it's probably about 4.5 feet deep. And it goes straight down into the buffer strip around the wetland. What we're looking to do is we've initiated a notice to proceed with a contractor who's going to be doing all this work by hand. There's no equipment access that will be on site. It's going to be done by a 2 or 3 person, hand crew. What we're looking to do is reroute the trail upslope as far as possible before getting to our shared boundary. We're going to have a bench cut slope with kind of an armored tread, and the original surface of the trail will be closed through grubbing, through movement of on-site organic matter. The actual fall line section of trail will be mitigated by rock check dams. We're going to use rock bars and pulleys to move large stones in the area to create check dams along that. That will be backfilled with organic material that we're going to find on site, as well as some clean mulch from chipped trees around the headquarters building. One additional thing we're doing to minimize the disturbance in the area is, after consulting with our archaeologist, any mining for material that we're going to do to create a new tread surface will come from the already previously disturbed area. So that's how we'll minimize our impact in that section. And like I said, the existing trail surface, where it doesn't exist on a hillside, will be on-site downed woody debris, leaf rakes, all that type of thing will be used. The ground will be grubbed to kind of promote regeneration in the future. It will be suitably closed in that fashion. The second part of the proposal is going to be the construction of a about 12 to 16 foot bridge to cross what we're calling a hydrologic connection between two wetlands. This isn't on the wetlands layer. However, right now it's a ford. I put 2 photographs of it in the filing, one from each direction, although they are in different seasons. It's
I noticed the difference. Yes.
Yeah. So I've also provided a copy, a brief sketch of what our standard bridge design is. This is going to be anything that's ground contact is going to be pressure treated or white oak, depending on what I can source. The deck material will be variable with oak planking from our sawmill, and that's. To follow that up, we're going to manipulate some of the stone around the entrance and exit to try to encourage traffic to use the bridge specifically and not ford the stream crossing.
Is that the location of the existing bridge that Tom was going to, needs to move because it's too sharp of a corner?
That's
And it's possibly,
that is just down the trail from that. Just down the trail from that.
okay, it's not that particular project that he
No,
was
nope,
planning to do?
it's not that project. This is a new one, yeah.
Okay. Now, if you come off of Mill Street, where does this occur? Now, I've been through there a number of times, walking
Yep.
through there, but exactly how far in from Mill Street is?
So this is what we call the Wolf Meadow Block. It's the section of forest that's located to the east of Megley Trail and to the west of the Wolf Meadow Conservation Area. Probably from Mill Street, the easiest way to get there would be to park at that 1 or 2 car pull-off near the water department property, right by the law farm.
Okay.
And then head up until you reach the absolute top of the hill, and then turn right, and it would be there within short order.
All right,
Oh, okay, I know.
yeah, all right.
Yeah.
And actually, where you're relocating the trail, you're bringing it farther away from the wetlands, so it's...
That's correct.
That's an improvement. Any other questions or comments? Jean? Any?
I wasn't quite sure where this was because You know, Tom's always kind of, he's always going, saying, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm going the other place. So he always does things very well and brings them to my attention, and is very conservative about what he does. So, no, I'm not familiar with the site exactly, but I have confidence in Tom.
Much appreciated.
He helps us all the time, you know. You
I
don't
know.
realize, he
That
cuts
is-
trees, he
is-
builds, he makes new signs for us. He's been going around and checking all the boundaries of his property, so he has my little round, little markers that he is plopping on the other side of wherever he's marking for the state property, so, yeah. Thank you.
I hope by the end of the fiscal year, that's when we finish up our boundary season, I'll have some sort of a mileage, some sort of totals, just for your own information about adjacent town property boundaries that were also incidentally marked.
That would be incredible, yeah, you found a property boundary up near Wolf Meadow that they hadn't been able to justify before, and I went up there, and I
You did?
saw
You
where you
saw
were
it?
working, yeah.
Yeah, I think we found something like 9 monuments within 300 feet, so I think we hit the money. we hit the nail right on the head. They were all there for the taking, and it just wasn't recorded on anything. It was dealing with a kind of ambiguous survey from the 40s that may or not have been field truthed. I think it might have been done by tax parcels. That kind of all directly relates to this project, because in order to set up what our reroute was going to be, I needed to make sure that boundary line was delineated, because it gets right up next to Normandy Farm property as well as town conservation land. So, yeah, we made it, but
Good.
That's pretty
Now,
cool.
can you GPS those, the bounds, when you find them, do you GPS them? Or?
yeah, usually when it's a boundary like this that we're reestablishing that's never been marked, before I go out and put paint on the tree, our district management forester comes down and GPSs all these points with us. So he did collect that data. It's submitted, I believe, on a yearly basis to our GIS department in Boston, and theoretically, it's supposed to be updating the data that's available on the Mass Mapper, the Mass Oliver website. However, at what regular interval that happens, I could not say. But I do know that the tax parcels in that area are not very accurate. So,
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
Dave always said the farther you get from the center of town, the worse the assessor's lines are and the boundaries of everything. Which is why he probably always insisted on boundary markers.
well, I know my predecessor, Mr. Ron Clough, I have notes that he was working on locating this in 1998, but for whatever reason, he never moved forward and marked it or left any other information other than a couple scraps of paper. So I'm sure he'll be very tickled when I tell him that I was able to locate it.
Good.
Jane, maybe when he's done finalizing all the boundaries, that they can coordinate with, who's the gentleman that does all our GPS mapping?
Oh, yes, Ryan
Ryan.
Norton.
And that way they can correct everything that, you
That
know.
would be cool. Yeah, well, he did your maps as well, yes?
Yeah,
So-
and he has access to our data. I know I've put him in touch with our GIS department in the past. He can speak that language a lot clearer than I can.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I don't have any issues or any hang-ups with him communicating with them directly. I appreciate everything that he's done to help us out in that
Yeah,
area.
he's done an amazing
And
job.
especially if you finalize everything, and then he can
Right.
finalize his information too.
Right. I guess
point.
just one final thing about the bridge crossing. I know our arcology program had expressed concern about working in the stream channel itself, so we're going to make sure that any type of work is done from the bank, and we're going to be paying close attention to making sure minimal, if not no, foot traffic occurs actually, in the resource area. If it's necessary, we do have we have a core log I can bring in to kind of waddle the edges of it, but that's such a tough, bony ground there. I don't really anticipate any issues with any sort of a runoff or sediment, but we have, contingency plans to deal with that if that becomes an issue.
Are you planning to do it right away, or when it's drier, or what?
So this is actually scheduled for, I believe, early to mid-August.
Oh, perfect.
Part of this project, the first half, the reroute's going to be done early July by one of our contractors, and then the bridge is we're going to be assisted by the Student Conservation Association, so they're coming in August. So both
Oh,
of those should
perfect.
happen during relatively, if not completely low water periods.
Excellent, thank you.
Just one quick question. Now, your bridge is 3 feet wide. what's the average width for ATVs?
So we don't use ATVs in our
Well, I
forest,
know
it's
you
specifically
don't,
dirt bikes.
But I want to keep ATVs out of there as well. So if they can't go across, hopefully they wouldn't.
Yeah, so.
I try to discourage usage of ATVs.
Sure. You know, that's actually an interesting question. I try to be ambiguous about what the actual width is. And that's just based on the site. We might find there's a stone we can't, or a tree root that we can't disturb. So I go anywhere from 24 inches to 4 feet. The other thing we have to worry about, though, is the need for public safety personnel on ATVs, or myself for my own, forest operation to cross. In this particular case, this area is so inaccessible by any sort of ATV. That wasn't a consideration. So my target is usually 36 inches wide. So that way, when we put on the bumper rails on the side, it leaves about 24, 26 inches in the middle for actual foot traffic. So
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, good.
so that is a consideration.
Okay, good. Think alike.
Yeah, I have no questions about his ability to do things in the right
Right.
way.
Any other questions, comments?
Nope.
So I want to close the,
Move to close the hearing.
right here,
Meadow State Forest, Mill Street.
Second?
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? So I want to make a negative determination. Do you have the paperwork, Jane?
No, I didn't print it out. I'll have to run upstairs and do that by
Okay.
the end of the meeting.
Okay,
I'd like to make a negative determination for the Wolf Meadow
We
State
usu-
Forest.
We usually do 3, 6, and 6A.
Pardon?
We usually do 3, 6, and 6A.
3, 6, and 6A. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? You're all set.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Hey, we appreciate what you've been doing up
Yep.
there. Looks like we got a lot of people on Zoom. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetland Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, the Conservation Commission will open a public hearing on Monday, April 4th, 2022, at 7:10 PM in the Gala Meeting Room, Foxborough Town Hall, 40 South Street, or via Zoom, on a notice of intent filed by Melissa Lenker, Mass DOT Highway Division, for work on the existing stormwater facilities north of exit 13B on I-95 and a swale in the median on I-495 in Foxborough. Portions of the proposed work lie within 100 feet of a resource area. The application is available for public inspection at the Conservation Office. Good evening.
Hello, how are you? Hello, Commissioners.
Okay. Can you
Thank you
turn
for
up
your time tonight. So Melissa Lenker is not with us today. My name is Hong Pham. I'm actually the program coordinator that proposed the stormwater project. So I worked out of the agency's headquarters in Boston. And as a stormwater program coordinator, I oversee the impaired waters program, which identifies impaired water bodies that have potential discharge from Mass DOT roadways and to treat them to the maximum extent practicable. And I apologize for the background. My son is right next to me. So this project has been identified as an area that can be providing additional improvements for water quality treatment, which improved upon current conditions. And as you already know, the Robinson Brook and its watershed is impaired. The brook itself is a Category 5 impaired water body for TMDL status. The impairment is, I believe, associated with aquatic macro invertebrates, nutrients, metals, and among other things. And currently, this project is set to advertise for bid by the end of June this year, and out for construction potentially next year, spring. If that is a question, I'll leave it to my BSC consultants team to identify. I believe it will be next season. So at this point, with that being said, I'd like to turn this over to my consultant team to further present the project from a technical standpoint for the stormwater improvement.
Before we get too far along, Jane, question. The notice said April 4th. Was that a typo?
Is this the one that you're having problems with?
Oh, I guess that's a typo.
But that's what I'm reading here on the file, April 4th.
Remember you were having, you were having problems with
Well,
one
no,
of
I
them.
couldn't find the electronic version. You had it. But,
I don't want to get
actually,
anything snafu on there.
I didn't have it on April 4th.
When is the date that it came? It's-
Okay, it says received April 12th was the official.
Oh, yeah, that was probably a typo.
What's that?
It was probably a typo then.
Okay, then I should correct that reading of the date to April 25th. So, just for the record, I'll make it April 25th for the official hearing, just to clear up any problems there. Hopefully
Thank you,
none,
Ms.
but cover our bases.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Weldon with BSC Group. I'm a wetland scientist and permitting specialist, and BSC has prepared the notice of intent application as well as the project plans and stormwater information. I have a team with me here today. Some people are traveling and observing, and for now, I'll introduce some of the wetland resource features, and Catherine Egan will tell you a little bit more about the actual technical details of the stormwater improvements being made. But is it possible for me to share my screen? I do have some slides that my colleague Sarah Kreisel has prepared. It's just basically screenshots of the project plans and some of the environmental resource maps and locus and things like that. Is that possible if I just go ahead and screen share?
Sure, yep,
Okay.
if you
All
have
right,
the
I'll give that a shot.
technology to do it.
All right, hopefully this will work. I'll start back at the beginning. Is the PowerPoint being displayed somewhere? Everybody can see that?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep,
Okay, great.
Yeah, can
So,
you put it in presentation view, please, and get it out of the viewer?
Oh, yes. Where is the presentation? Slide master.
Bottom right.
Hold. You.
Slideshow. The slideshow tab.
Bottom right of your screen.
Bottom right.
Yep, one of those,
Right
keep
there.
going.
Yep, that one.
Up.
Nope,
Maybe
keep-
this.
a little more to the right, a little more to the right.
Right. Keep going.
Sorry, everybody.
There you
Sorry,
go.
it's been a
Wow.
while since I've done this. There we go. So this is just to show you the how the existing landscape looks right now as you're heading off on the exit ramp on the shoulder of the southbound lane of I-95, and just the intro screen there. So this is just to show you the 3 locations where work is proposed, and the first being a separate location on I-495, and I'll show you in a moment that there's actually no jurisdictional areas on this portion of the project. We're just basically identifying it for the commission to let you know the work is happening there, but this portion of the work isn't actually up for any sort of review just because it isn't in any sort of jurisdictional area. The other 2 locations are right across the southbound lane from each other on the west shoulder, where our ditch or stormwater swale extension is proposed, and on east of I-95 on the southbound shoulder, where the additional leaching basins are going to be proposed to some existing catch basins that we have. And just to show you, this is quickly the 495 location, just to show you that we have, 100-foot wetland buffers off of some delineated resource areas, and the swale improvements and the work, the stormwater BMPs happening here are outside of any sort of jurisdictional areas. And again, this is the limits of work. The blue dot signifies that we're in an outstanding resource watershed, but without being in wetlands, we don't have any features that are considered outstanding resource waters. And so then this is to just show you the extent of work project limits of the two BMPs proposed off of I-95. And so we have the southbound lane, the drainage ditch extension on the west side, and then the leaching basin installation on the median on the east side of the southbound lane. And I might just flip quickly to this map first, just to kind of give you the aerial photo view. We have Robinson Brook running to the north of our project, and it is a perennial stream based off of the USGS. It's depicted as a perennial stream, and it's concluded, it's perennial no matter what because it's on USGS, but it does have a large enough watershed basin to be considered perennial stream as well. This is an unnamed intermittent stream, and we did run stream stats on that, and it does not have a large enough drainage basin to be considered perennial. So we feel confident that that is an intermittent stream on this side of the project. And so, both have 100-foot buffer zones from the stream banks, and associated wetlands systems have 100-foot buffer zones, and the Robinson Brook as a perennial stream has a 200-foot riverfront area, as well as a FEMA 1% annual chance of flooding, or the 100-year floodplain, also known as bordering land subject to flooding, and that is seen in the blue shading. And since that has a base flood elevation associated with it, we've at elevation 210 feet, we actually depicted that along our topographic survey of the area to be more accurate as to where that floodplain extends. So what we have is this brownish orange color is a drainage swale, and it does support wetland vegetation and hydrology, but being a feature developed specifically for stormwater, we have referenced in the narrative of the notice of intent that this is not an area or resource area in itself, because it was built for stormwater, even though it over time has developed some features that would support, a bordering vegetated wetland. We did delineate wetlands that have expanded off of that swale over the years, but used the regulations to identify that this swale has been on plans shown to the commission in the past. And in 2012, we provided some copies of an RDA that was submitted showing this as a stormwater drainage swale or a drainage ditch. And so we're calling this a drainage swale feature. And then I'll just flip back here to show you with some additional markups that this pink line here is the 200-foot riverfront area associated with Robinson Brook. And as you can see, it extends through the project limits of work and some of the grading that's being proposed for the best management practices improvement to stormwater. And then the kind of teal blue is the FEMA bordering land subject to flooding based on the 210 elevation contour off of the base flood elevation from the FEMA information. And then if you can see here, this is the existing extent of the drainage ditch, this kind of dashed line here. Then we have 100-foot buffer zones with only a small area here outside of any buffer zone, as we have some associated with the intermittent stream and wetlands on this side, and the wetlands in the median, as well as associated with the drainage ditch. So what we've proposed is within riverfront area, in the outer 100 feet, in the outer boundaries of it, we are extending and regrading this drainage ditch. It's going to be extended about 60 or 70 feet further to the south. Sorry, I have to think about which way I'm going. And formalizing it with a sediment forebay. and there will be some tree clearing or sapling clearing as it's grown up over the years, and some grading in order to format the ditch as proposed. And basically, this amount of impact here to the riverfront area, we've calculated it to be about 2,700 square feet, 2,715 square feet in this area, and that would be cleared and graded, and it would be maintained as a BMP. So it will, the feature will change. But we also note that calculations for riverfront area don't typically include work to create stormwater BMPs. They aren't typically added into your riverfront area calculations when you're figuring out, totals allowed for riverfront area disturbance. So since everything is associated with stormwater BMPs, we're providing these calculations for information, but not necessarily that they would contribute to any sort of riverfront area impact threshold. So then we also have some, work in the buffer zone, where we have a gravel access drive to be able to get in and maintain this BMP in the future. So we will have that gravel drive in the buffer zone. And then we do have a small amount of grading to the bordering land subject to flooding, but nothing that will fill the existing elevations. We're only actually extending the 210 contour a little further and actually increasing the amount of floodplain on site by about 255 square feet in this little area. And then we do have a little bit more work in the riverfront area in order to install leaching basins that would be connected to existing catch basins. And so that would be, below grade work, and the surface would be restored to maintained grassy areas adjacent to the roadway. And then I don't know if there's anything else to mention at the moment before I turn it over to Catherine. I did want to say that we have these two drain lines that currently discharge stormwater to the swale and to the area. And through this process, we'll actually be abandoning them and extending the drainage so that it will discharge into the forebay. And that takes, stormwater inputs even further from Robinson Brook, sets them back away, by almost 200 feet in some cases, and allows further, filtration, infiltration, and, provides additional water quality to the stormwater before it reaches anywhere near the brook. And so, Catherine, if there's anything else you'd like to mention about the stormwater features, I can flip through slides if that would help.
Catherine Egan with BSC Group. Actually, I think you did a really good job of talking about most of it. So I guess I would say if there's questions, I can speak to any of the engineering type of questions.
Any questions from the board? Jane? Oh, okay.
Are the leaching fields, are they new, or are you just refurbishing them?
Those will be new.
Those
and there's actually several already out near that exit island. So it's a feature that DOT's already has in the area.
And how close are they to the water now, to the river, a brook?
Let's see.
Is
The
that already
closest one would be about about 25 feet.
Is there a logistical reason as to why they're that close, or?
So there, that is the low point in the roadway at that location, and so those three catch basins are kind of a standard MassDOT design for low points in their roadways. And so we were trying to keep the basins as close to the roadway as possible to minimize disturbance, because it is a fairly steep slope and well vegetated. So that was kind of the thought there.
Okay.
Those catch basins currently drain right into the brook, right? So you're
Correct.
eliminating any of the contaminants coming off the roadway by doing this.
Yeah, exactly, yes, because all three of them have outfalls that go straight down the slope there.
No.
So we've designed the leaching basins for all the runoff to go to leaching basins first. And then if there were significantly high flow conditions, they would utilize the existing outfalls, but would route through the leaching basins first.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so in the sense that those catch basins going to be the pre-treating criteria based on Mass DEP standards.
Could you speak up just a little bit, please?
The catch basins will be treated as a pre-treatment, which is based on Mass DEP standards.
All right.
Those are the existing catch basins right now.
Yeah.
The wetlands that are to the south that you're moving closer to, can you just describe that a little bit?
Sure. So this was the intermittent stream, and I want to say that we had I do have some details in the narrative. I was just looking at that. You know, everything out there is semi-forested or saplings. You know, stuff that's grown up, you know, over the last decade or so. And so the intermittent stream S3, S4. We had as, you know, a few inches of water during the time of delineation, you know, a few feet wide up a bank. It's a rocky, sandy bottom with about, with the adjacent wetland. I don't know that we had described the wetland closest to S3, S4. Is that? Wetland 3 is what we identified that as. It's a forested scrub shrub wetland. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Wetland 3 is the one in the median. So we don't necessarily have much detail about the one that's associated with stream 3 and 4 west of the stream, but it's kind of a continuation of the whole system. We have red maple, meadow sweet, some purple loosestrife, poison ivy, grapevines.
And then you're, but
Basically
you're, and you know, you're not doing much work up at that end. You're just, is that true? You're doing any other than the roadway? And
yeah, it's the gravel drive.
Yep.
So whatever we can preserve in that area, in putting that gravel drive in, we would. You know, any clearing that could be limited, you know, definitely would be. It would just be for the access to get in to do the work, and then a maintained gravel drive for getting back in the future to continue to, you know, clean out any sediment and that becomes trapped in the BMPs into the future.
are you expecting any to impact that space at all, the wetlands up in that corner?
We won't have any direct wetlands impact. It would be within the buffer zone, though,
Okay.
to the stream wetlands. So the stream itself doesn't have wetlands immediately adjacent right at the closest point. It flows into a culvert here without adjacent wetlands, but the wetland does kind of pick up just a few feet, you know, off of that.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to get the, you know, the main, you're not impacting that, and the main benefit is Robinson Brook.
Exactly,
Yep,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Jamie?
No.
You happy with it?
Yeah, anything's going to be an improvement.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments? You want to see this big one?
No, the thing is that there must be such a volume of flow in these two that they have to build that.
I do have one question. I had trouble deciphering exactly where this was for some reason. So
Yeah, it's flip-flop for me because I'm looking, and to me, I'm looking at reverse because this wants to be north and this wants to be south in my mind.
I know exactly.
maybe that's what it is then. But
You
this
as
is
well?
the off
No, I
ramp
know
that goes
exactly.
to
I
what?
take that exit all the time.
Yeah.
This is exit 13B.
which
Goes,
exits onto what
140.
road?
140.
140, okay.
140.
I'm familiar with it then. It's a mess over there. Doesn't be good.
Yeah, I knew it was 140, but I still can't, yeah.
I know, I picture it.
It is really hard. I know.
Okay,
I know.
Yeah,
good.
so
I'm glad I'm not
This
the
is
only one.
140 up that way.
Yeah.
So it
And
goes
north
on
is
Route
that
140
way.
north, right? So it's going toward
Yes,
Foxborough.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
All right.
Yeah, these vehicles are traveling
But
south.
this
So there's a
lane.
big circle
This-
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's an exit.
This is,
The
it-
travel is this way.
This is a tiny little key right here. I don't know if you
Oh,
can
Yeah,
it's
see
this towards me.
down in this
Yes,
corner to kind
okay.
of give you.
Southbound.
yeah,
The cars are
okay,
going this direction,
yeah, all right,
right in the
Okay.
exits here, so
Yeah.
it's right before the.
yeah.
Every Friday night.
Maybe that helps. Well, not really for me.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar.
It should help.
Yeah,
It's right in here.
yes,
So
yeah,
when you're coming down.
yeah,
you
yeah,
Get
it's
off,
good,
get off the
yeah,
140.
okay,
It's about
All
as
right.
clear as mud.
okay.
I know our
And
frames don't always, to show the whole project. Sometimes it's easier to flip it, but I know everybody thinks north-south. It's hard to.
Is it really an intermittent stream?
What? Near Robinson Brook?
So we're Robinson Brook, so this is actually coming out of Hersey Pond, right? It's coming down Robinson Brook and then crossing the highway. And they're labeling it an intermittent stream. I guess that's my only, is it actually intermittent or is that, I mean, I've never seen Hersey Pond go dry.
Well, they said Robinson Brook is a perennial stream.
Yes,
Yep,
but
Robinson
Robinson
Brook,
Brook
yep.
is
On the
on
opposite
this
side?
side, and then it's,
Robinson Brook crosses, it gets, joins Hershey Farm, I think, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yes.
Hershey Pond's the
Right.
north.
Runs
or
along Route
west.
140, Central Street, as it turns into Commercial Street, I think.
Yeah.
And then it goes into a pond, which is bisected by 140, and it's Hershey Pond. And who knows where it goes from there, but I'm assuming it ends up where they're talking.
Right, I think it does. It crosses Walnut Street and then it filters down into the area where they're talking about.
Crosses Walnut Street, okay. Makes sense.
but the intermittent stream that they're talking about is way away from Robinson Brook.
Oh, it is,
Where
all
where
right.
does that, where does that originate? You don't have an aerial photo of that area, do you?
That's
Looking
not
on Google
from the
Maps,
golf
I'm not
course,
sure I
is it?
understand.
It does,
What's that?
yeah, it does
Golf
not
course
show
on
up on
that?
Yeah,
screen
it's trying to
stat.
understand.
I don't know.
Good
I'm trying
idea.
to figure it out on Google Maps.
We did run stream stats and came up with a watershed basin or drainage basin of 0.14 square miles. And the regulations for figuring out if it is perennial, even if it's not shown as perennial in USGS, they're looking for a watershed of 1 square mile. And then you can start going down through the steps. And I think if you have a half of a square mile, and it has a certain amount of stratified drift in geology, then you might also have a perennial stream, but the 0.14 square miles is below any of the other characteristics that could get you to perennial.
So where is, it doesn't look up, oh, maybe I have it. Whereabouts would Foxborough Boulevard be in relationship to this aerial here? Down to the lower right?
Lower left.
It would be, yeah, it would be down this way.
All right, so one more time. What side is up here? Is upside
So
south?
This is southbound and south, and this is northbound and north.
They're coming down this way, going that way.
So we got north,
Right here, there's.
south.
This is the lane.
East.
Okay,
We
this
just
is
sold the state just sold.
So
to
they
the
don't have
town.
Little small because of the screenshot, but there's a north arrow at the bottom
Okay,
center and the
Walnut
great legend.
Street, which there's
Oh, yeah,
no
okay, yeah. Yeah, so the lower one is north,
Well, it's
yeah,
not
that makes sense.
for sure.
Okay, page, 'cause
So it would be.
see how this
somewhere in
goes
the
up? I think this is
vicinity
the
here.
other part, Wallace Street.
This is
The
just,
Wallace Street comes across.
This
This is where the
Right, it's right
so
before.
it's
Healthcare
probably
center
the
is, and
discolored
here's where
areas.
the
It's probably this,
low-income housing
Maple
is.
Swamp.
And this
Okay.
is the 20-some-odd acres
So
we,
this was done in
the
fall,
town got
fairly.
for senior citizens, the
Okay.
200 units.
Okay,
The exit ramp.
That's,
So that's Walnut Street that
Yeah,
Bill
okay.
is gonna run the sewer down.
yeah,
Hook
okay.
up.
This is when it picked up.
Yeah,
So
this
the
is
intermittent
probably the
in there.
wetland they're talking
Yep.
about,
They're
and it's
talking-
probably, just looking at the vegetation with
So the
leaves,
intermittent is
probably
coming
in fall,
from
and
the
it's probably
low-income
Yeah.
housing area.
red
Yeah.
maples.
Yep.
Okay,
And it's.
So that's where it is, right?
Oh, you know what
Probably
the
less
intermittent is?
than
It's close to
16.
where the old sewer beds,
think
sewer
anything's
beds used to be.
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
And then you got Robinson Brook later
yeah.
on.
Thank you. I think I picture it now. And you know, the fact that it's in the Robinson Brook watershed, Robinson Brook is a very abused brook, and anything you can do to help it out is going to be a good thing.
Any other questions, comments? We got it
Nope.
all squared away now?
I think so. North from south.
Any reason why we can't close it?
I had wanted to go out and visit the site, but I think that it's probably going to be an improvement no matter what, so I'm not
Okay.
too concerned.
Low-income housing.
Okay,
When is our next meeting? Is it 3 weeks?
Yeah, May 16th,
all right.
And that's 3 weeks out?
yeah, because town.
Someone want to make a motion?
Make a motion to close the hearing for NOI DEP 157615.
May I make one suggestion? Our next meeting is 21 days from today. So we would not be able to issue this thing in any realistic way until the 22nd day. So, like we did last time, it might, either we should get a signed waiver, well, we could get either a continuance and have the order ready for on that date for signing and then issuing, or we would need a waiver of the 21-day requirement from the applicant's reps or the applicant. So whichever you guys desire, I just, it's just an administrative pain in the neck because the next meeting's 3 weeks out.
I
Any
don't understand the
preferences
21
from-
days.
They have to issue an order of conditions within 21 days of closing the meeting, and they'll be working on writing it up from now till then. So they can't issue it till.
Oh, they haven't got it drafted yet. Okay. Got it.
Right, the only way to issue it during the next meeting would be if someone was here personally, and I could make 2 copies and have the commission sign 2 copies and hand it to somebody.
Yeah.
So it's just cumbersome. It's just an administrative pain. There's no other way of putting it. The easiest way to do it would be, we have 2 projects that were continued to today's date because of for the same reason. So they are continued to today. I have prepared the order of conditions. They will be signed tonight, and then they will either be issued tomorrow or the next day. And they will be closed. So the hearing is so that, for the 2 other ones tonight, the hearing was continued to tonight. The commission will close it, and then they'll review the order and sign it, and then it will be issued. So potatoes, potatoes, really.
Yep. Understood. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
So continue it,
continue it then, okay.
and then it will be closed
Yeah,
during the next one.
whichever's easiest for the commissioners.
That would
knowing
be
that,
easiest.
Yep. That's totally fine. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so you make a motion to
So,
continue it?
motion to
Yes.
All
continue,
right, make
please.
a motion to continue DEP 157-615, Route 195, 495 till next meeting.
May
Second.
16th,
Oh, May 15th,
16th.
16th.
Second.
Do a discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a
everybody.
nice night.
Have a good night.
Bye, you too.
Good night now. Okay, now it's 7:15. I can, 5 Hope Avenue. We had a continuation. Somebody want to make a motion to close that hearing?
I'll make a motion to close 5 Hope Avenue, DEP 157616.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, now you want to talk about the order of conditions, Jane? Again,
Like I said last time.
Yeah.
Because the riverfront area had been so disturbed almost right up to it, and because it's a floodplain, the commission asked that the lower topo line have a no disturb bound on either side of it, which is parallel to the river. And then that area beyond would have no more mowing and restored, but in a simple fashion, like taking cuttings of the native species, the red osier dogwoods in the area, and just plunking them in the ground to start them. And Russ Waldron sent this information, excuse me, to the commission. So we're covered on that. I will, the order of conditions, the regular old form is filled in, and then the attachment with the special conditions has not been drafted by me, but all I will do is do the regular special conditions for single-family house, plus the boundary requirements, stating 2 bounds placed on either side of that topographic line where it flattens out.
all right.
And then the details about restoring the area, but it's not going to be a big deal restoration. It's just to allow it to naturalize and kind of just make up for what's there.
Okay. So do you have the signature page
I
yet?
have the signature page someplace. Do you have it?
This is all I have.
Oh, no, I have it. So it's 616. And I have 2, just in case. You can get away with 1 if you want, or you can, if you did 2, it'd probably make life a little easier somehow.
Does somebody want to make a motion to sign the order of conditions as described?
I'll make the motion to sign the order of condition for 5 Hope Avenue, NOI DEP 157616.
Second.
Second, discussion, all in favor? Opposed? None. All right. And while that's going around, do you have the Cocasset Lake information, Jen?
I do, and I think you all have copies of the nuts and bolts portions that are different. So for the project description, you can look at page 2, which is just basically an aquatic management program to control variable water milfoil and invasive fanwort, and using EPA and mass-approved herbicides or algicides. And in some cases, manual removal through diver-assisted suction harvesting, or DASH. And there's it shows what they are proposing for the first and subsequent years. One of the things that they proposed didn't make a whole lot of sense, so I wanted to have you make a finding that they not do it that way. I think the native plants, as in the past, should not be nuked with herbicides, if you will, but rather hand-pulled through the DASH method if there are areas that are so thick that they want to take them out. And if you look at the survey, the worst places where there's the native infestations are the really shallow coves. And in one particular place, it's in an area where it's cleared all the way down to the water. So, I think if it's something that they really want to have done, they can take them out, particularly one of the invasives, which doesn't have any roots. And if you look in between the lines in some of their descriptions, they talk about using the dash method to pull milfoil and possibly fanwort if it starts to grow again. But yet, in the beginning of their explanations, they say that milfoil and fanwort both reproduce by segmentation. So if they break it and some falls into the area, it's not going to do them any good to do it with the dash method. I think the dash method sounds perfect, though, for the natives. And, you know, and if it gets too expensive to remove the natives, they should stay there. Because, I mean, on one hand, they're saying the native species are really important for cover and food and all this sort of thing. And then they say, but we want to get rid of it for recreational purposes.
Yeah.
So, and I would, you know, argue that some of these, in all of the ponds in town, some of the weed proliferations are simply from nutrient input from septic systems that are broken or not working properly, and from fertilizing, and from the lack of a buffer zone, vegetative buffer zone. So I'm gonna get off that horse. So, first year, they're going to use the Prosolacor, which is the one that will control milfoil for several years, and the algae will be monitored. And I put, the program may include the selective removal of, quote, excessive native aquatic plants, which is what they called them, by means of the dash. And then on an annual basis, I spelled out what they're supposed to do, which is what they say in there. Notice of intent, project descriptions. And then they state that the applicants are going to are going to educate shoreline abutters about water quality sustainability practices. And I just put that in there so that when someone looks at it later. Yeah. And then at the bottom of that, I put the commission does not approve the proposed use of herbicides to control native aquatic plants, including native water lilies, water shield, bladderwort, and water willow. And that's just so that it's spelled out so that when we can look at it in the future, we can point to it and say, see? So, but you guys have to agree with this. If you don't agree with this, I'm fine. But I said that you agreed it is a limited project because it is management of invasive aquatic vegetation to impede eutrophication. And then for the approved herbicides, I kind of took this all apart. They said they're going to use this, 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 and this. And the first one, that Prosolacor, is that new technology that they said is so wonderful. So I put that at the top. Diquat, it's a contact herbicide for milfoil regrowth and to control curly leaf pondweed. And then Floridone, offers multi-year, blah, 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 but it says it requires extended contact, and I was looking at the other ones that we've done, one for the Neponset Reservoir, so they would lower the water for that, and I forgot to add that as a condition, but they probably would need to. And then there's a couple other ways, and then it says there was flumoxazine to control fanwort, but they said there wasn't very much fanwort, and I've read that if you get rid of the milfoil, sometimes fanwort will say, yippee, and they'll explode. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And then I put, if an aquatic algicide treatment is warranted and proposed, commission shall be provided with pre-treatment documentation in advance. Because that was very nebulous. The aquatic treatment was basically for water that became cloudy or something because of too much nutrients. I mean, if they had the filamentous algae, it seems like it would be appropriate, but I figured if they just come in front of the commission with algae questions, that'd be good. And then I put herbicide management techniques not approved. And the first was the use of herbicides to control native aquatic plants is not approved. And then dash for the removal of milfoil or fanwort only, since these species spread through fragmentation. And so that's that for the findings. And then as far as the conditions go, I just basically looked at all the old ones that we've done for the herbicide management. And it's all basically the same stuff, but you have a copy of it if you want to see it. And then, just to remind you, the invasive species distribution is in red. So I think those are in the coves, and actually, in particular, water comes from across the street into this place and this place. So that could be part of it, but I think it's mostly shallow. And then, these are all of the native plants, so there's a whole lot of the native plants that they want to nuke.
Pull out.
Yeah, and if they want to pull them out, I think that's okay, but
Now, are they going to notify you when they start?
they're supposed to, according to my conditions, my administrative conditions,
Right.
yes. It says, prior to construction, well, I shouldn't say construction.
Yeah. Prior to
Prior to,
start of treatment.
Prior to implementation, or
what's that?
implementation?
Implementation. That's better.
They also have to notify everybody all
Of the
around.
abutters.
They have to post up signs.
Well, they're going to be posting signs and stuff, and they put that all in their
Yeah.
information. The information that they had was very complete, it just was repetitious in some places, so I had to sift through it and condense it. So it does say, number 2, conservation agents shall be notified in writing no later than 40 hours prior to the start of work on the site. And I'm sure that they'll do it because they're a new company, and I know somebody who is using them on their lake, and they are very impressed with them. So I feel confident that they'll do the right thing.
Alrighty.
Okay. So with that one change, prior to implementation. Thought I caught everything. Guess not. Thank you. That's why I like you guys to look at this stuff. And I'm sorry I didn't get it to you earlier.
Someone, now, did we get that one closed? We did, didn't we? Or did we? No? No,
Continue,
okay.
right?
Yeah, this was a continued one.
Yeah, all right. Somebody want to make a motion to close the hearing for Cocasset Lake?
Make the motion to close Cocasset Lake DEP 157614.
Second.
Second, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? All right. Now then, somebody want to make a motion to sign of order conditions as described by Jean?
I'll make the motion to sign the order of conditions as described by Jean.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Only one on this one.
Opposed? None?
This one. I've been working on that one today, so.
Well, that's come around. Oh,
Just one page?
Just one.
Dave, you want to talk about the West Street Dam appeal that you?
What I wanted to do is just bring it up to the attention of the commission. Officially, I have a meeting on record that we had 2 public meetings concerning the West Street Dam replacement. And then there was an appeal by a neighbor with regards to how it might impact his property. And we also had 2 site meetings with the neighbor and Chris Gallagher and consultants. So when the appeal was eventually removed, and then DEP issued their findings, it wasn't brought to the attention to the commission except by email by Jane. And I think officially I wanted it brought to a meetings that the appeal was dropped, a dock will be built instead of removal of the vegetation. The stone wall will not be moved out into the, further to create a more dry upland area.
Okay.
And that it satisfied everybody concerning that, so that the West Street Project Dam can proceed. And hopefully Chris is still able to, maintain his ability to get that grant to move forward. But I just wanted to make sure it was on record because we have, like I said, 4 different meetings where it was discussed.
It was complicated, too. And they were just sending things back and forth by email. I had to print out, I don't even know if I did print out a paper document of it. It's in my files, and I had to hunt for it.
In Jane's report, it pretty much summarizes what had occurred. So, and Mr. Marsh's determination, final offer discussion.
All right, good.
But that was a good point, because you want to be able to have a paper trail or a breadcrumb trail.
Absolutely, yep.
And that was at the site meeting.
So was I. It was fun. I hear that they've gone out to bid for the project.
Oh, good.
And I think they have somebody who is the lowest bidder to do the work. So I assume it'll be started relatively soon. They'll probably have,
Yep,
hopefully have a
very good.
pre-construction meeting.
That's a joint project, because they're moving the water line, improving the water line too.
Yeah.
I never heard from them.
It's, do we have our Eagle Scout?
He asked how many copies he asked how many copies would be needed for the commission, and I told him, and then I didn't hear any more from him.
Okay, all right.
So I guess we may hear from him next time, I don't know.
I have a comment about it.
Yeah, similar to mine probably.
Which is,
It's in here. I don't remember what I wrote. I think it's on the first page, actually. I wrote a lot.
Well, about whether wood chips would be better or just sort of a natural.
Oh, grass.
Yeah, a meadow is what I had envisioned. I mean, I camp a lot, and I tell the Boy Scouts to camp in that location, which isn't probably a very popular thing to have to do, because they are used to going to the water. And I guess I was talking last Saturday during that Lane property thing to Rick Lewis, and he said that it was nice to camp on the waterfront because the breeze would come up at night, so you wouldn't have as many mosquitoes. Well, I didn't know that. But unfortunately, when people utilize these areas, they cut down a lot of the vegetation at the edge of the water, or they ask for it to be done beforehand, or they trample them and it kills them, or whatever. So again, they've got the importance of the buffer zone, and there's a fire pit near the water, which I wouldn't mind them going to in the evening, but there's also a really nice fire pit up at this old lot, the old house lot that the last tenants built. I didn't have the heart to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But it would be really, really nice if that area was just neatened up,
Yeah.
maybe flattened out a little bit. There are a bunch of old perennials and stuff that are still there from when the house was there and the lanes before them, which it would be nice to dig them out, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And there are an awful lot of invasive wisteria vines that should be cut back, and there's actually a water source that could be implemented at some point in time, just a little funky little spigot.
Yeah.
And there's electricity
Left
to the
that
site
on?
too. What?
Has that been, the water department didn't shut that off?
Well, they shut that off.
Oh, I'm sure it's shut off, but it's got the little, I don't know what it is. It's a water pipe
Yeah.
type of thing.
Okay.
And there's also electricity to the old garage area. So, I mean, there's so much
There's
potential.
Potential, yeah.
Yeah, and if a meadow were created, and even if there was just a small area that maybe had chips for, I don't know, I'd prefer to go camping on grass myself.
Yeah, chips are, yeah.
Yeah, grass, I think a grassed area would be nice, with plants that are relatively native, that could be mowed once a year to keep down, shrubby material. There's some really nice blueberry bushes there too, but they have all sorts of poison ivy around them. So if anyone's listening, don't pick them unless you're watching for poison ivy. So, I mean, cutting down poison ivy, which is a native, but I mean, come on now. If you've got a beautiful blueberry bush, they're huge.
Yeah.
That would be a wonderful place for
Take a goat
camping.
in. I'll take a goat in with me and.
Go for it. Go for it. I want to see it too when you do it.
My only comment is creating a gathering place. If they're trying to utilize that fire pit, then you're going to get a lot of people hanging out there that are not supposed to be there when they're not supposed to be there.
I know. How do you deal with that, though? Because nobody is supposed to be there, yet if the scouts are utilizing the area, no one's going to be coming there but the scouts, and they do things, they're supposed to do things right, so I assume they do.
When they're there, but they're not
When
there
they're
all the
there,
time.
I know. Well, it's there anyway, though. What can you do to keep them from doing that? The thing is, even if that were removed, they'd find another place to do it.
Understand.
If
you have any ideas.
If it seems maintained, they might.
That's a good
In the ideal
point.
world, they might use it less because they would feel it was more monitored and. they
That is a good
trying
point.
to
And also,
evade the authorities, but.
if there were wildlife cameras or something that was being utilized by the power source to monitor it, I don't know, the security up there is a pain in the neck, but it's getting better because there's so many people who love the area and they kind of are owning it. And they pick it up and they tell people if they're doing things they shouldn't, I think, I'm not sure. But it's much better than it used to be.
Speaking of picking up, how many bags of trash were picked up?
There were a lot, except I'm told that they ran out to Kersey Point and the Edwards boat
Yeah,
landing
yeah.
area.
I was on that crew.
But one person, I guess, even found, there was even a satellite dish on a big pole from the old house site.
Oh, okay.
And there was, I think a part of a car
Yeah,
roof.
Yeah, a side panel from a car. I don't know where that came from, but I
The-
saw him bringing it in.
The people at the Neponset River Watershed Association were concerned when they heard that we had stewards that regularly picked up the trash because they panicked. But, I mean, one of our senior volunteers, Don, he climbed under the deck and he pulled out all sorts of horrible stuff. And, the decks, we put prickly bushes around it for a reason. But they still go underneath it and have fun, I guess. I don't know. But they still found plenty. There's always, unfortunately, you're always going to be able to find trash. If it's well used, which it is. But I did go there for about an hour on Saturday I'm thinking, well, I can't be complaining about nothing getting done there if I don't represent myself and try and, rah rah sis boom bah. So I talked to them about.
What time did you get there? 1?
It started at 1, so yeah, I got there around 1.
Yeah.
Well, it was supposed to, no, I thought it started at 12, so I got there around
The
12.
cleanup was from 9 to 12.
Yeah, and they said right after, I didn't realize it was 1.
Yeah.
So I was there around a little after 12, so I was able to talk to the reps, the Neponset people, about doing stormwater retrofits. It was confusing because that was part of the MVP grant money people who are doing it for the town, plus the Neponset River Watershed Association was kind of on board as well, and I still don't understand how. But I didn't stay for the stormwater presentation because I probably could have taught it. But I was talking to them about the retrofits I want to see at the Lane property, and they seem pretty charmed up about it. So if we
Good.
can use that as a demonstration area, that would be fantastic. So I'm got my fingers crossed.
Jane, Bob, there was discussion with the seniors and Mark Craig, Senior Center.
Mm-hmm.
He's also in charge of rec department. He was wondering why there isn't a porta potty there, especially to help out, keeping the senior volunteers that will go there, but there's no bathroom. Question is, where they're going to keep it, because if you leave it outside, you're not going to be having someone come and pick it up every single day in the evening, and because that could get costly.
They
Unless
have them
want-
all over town. He's going to be putting it there for his people, so we won't have to
Right.
pay for it. And he said that, I said, well, we have vandalism issues and we're worried about it being knocked over or whatever. And he said, well, it can be locked and it also can be pegged into the ground securely.
Okay, so he'd be responsible for doing that, because that's
Yeah.
wide open to the street.
Right.
Anybody can come off the street and just park
Well,
there.
it depends upon where you locate it.
That's the question, and there were 3 of them that were put there for the event on Saturday, and don't you know, I got a call from the abutter on my way home,
Oh.
who said, there are 3 porta potties and they look awful. I said, well, we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah. Where were they located?
You know, honestly, I kind of looked and I couldn't really see them. I think they were in the upper parking lot.
Parking lot, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's, because I didn't go up into the property since I did the.
Yeah, they didn't scream, did they? I mean, I didn't really see them.
No.
But one would be nice,
Yeah.
and it's just finding the right spot that's shady and easily accessible, but also in plain sight. Because, you know, Mark said that now that he oversees the recreation department too, he says they have gobs of them in all sorts of locations around town. And he said that he would get one for his seniors because more would go there if there was a bathroom.
Yeah,
A lot of them don't because they don't want to have to bother or worry about that.
yeah.
If it's a screening issue, what they do with some of the trustees' properties, they just,
I have a picture.
2 poles and a, you know, a piece of fencing just so.
I have a picture from the No One at Woodlands one, because anytime I go someplace and they have cool things, I take a picture. So we could make for pretty if we wanted.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
very good. Anything else?
I only have a couple copies of it, but I've been working on the guide to Foxborough conservation lands and open spaces. Christina in the administrative office is gonna have to give her okay. So I have 2 if you want to fight over them. I know David has one, I think, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I gave you mine.
it's very well done. Matter of fact, it's also more readable, print-wise.
Well, she told me that, you know, they're trying to make a branding for the town that's consistent. And so I asked her what the fonts were, because, you know, I'm a control freak, I guess. I've spent a lot of time on this, and I don't want anyone else monkeying with it. And she didn't get back to me on that, so I did some research, and they say Arial is a pretty easy font to read. The first page is with the fancy writing is papyrus, and that's not easy to read, but you can still read it.
Did you look at it? You want some? Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Anything else?
I mean, for people who don't know the way around town, yeah, it'd be very helpful.
Especially, I think, if they could be left at the senior center. And a lot of people are afraid to get lost in the woods, too. I mean, I'm not, but a lot of people are. So it'd be nice, you know, someone has said, keep it simple instead of making it more detailed, which I like to do. And I think it would be helpful for people. Because I had a couple of people who frequent the senior center who came in to meet with me about the trails, and they want to have a walking club. They do have a walking club.
Stafford.
Yeah, and they get together every Wednesday, I guess.
Yeah.
And they wanted to know what would be appropriate places to go, and I offered to go with them and lead them, be their naturalist, and keep them from getting lost. And also, it would give me a good opportunity to check out the conservation lands, which, when I do it now, I feel guilty because it's too much fun. But I think that's all.
Anything else?
There's always the ever-present encroachments issue, but I don't know. I don't have the
Down White's
bandwidth.
Farm Lane.
Yeah, were
That's just one.
there boundary markers on White Farm? That's new enough, I would think that they're.
You know, if Dave was around when that was done, he would have insisted on it. So, and I think Rich Leslie said that there had been, but when he peeked at it, he said they weren't anywhere to be seen.
I think they were supposed to put them up,
Of course, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But-
I talked to Bill about that, and he'll help us out in converting information on the plan to go out there in the field.
Okay.
Who's
Oh, you
his-
did? When was that?
Oh, when I talked to him a while back. And, because I tried to confirm with him were bounds put in, and they looked in their records, there's no bills saying that they were paid to put bounds in. So
Oh.
that doesn't guarantee anything, but he said that he can reconstruct where they should be, and then we could go out with metal detectors and other things to try and find, if they got rods in them, that's
Yeah.
another thing. Some
Yeah.
bounds don't have, the cement ones don't have a rod. A lot of times you could take a metal detector and find those,
Yeah.
or pins in the ground.
Yeah.
And behind the gentleman that appealed the West Street Dam, there are two bounds back there. One's a big granite bound that sticks up about 4 feet, 5 feet off the ground.
Oh.
It's an old common boundary
Yeah.
that you don't see too often. So there are some indications out there. It's just one particular owner that we probably have to have a discussion on where the line is to, just inform him.
It
So
won't be a pleasant discussion.
that's her friend too. She made
No,
friends.
no, not the friend. No. No, I was afraid it was him, but it wasn't. And, no, it was the guy at the end of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been talking to some of the
Check
people
the
over there.
order of conditions for that. See, I think it's called for bounds.
Well, David, you said that it did, right?
They show bounds on the plan, but Bill's records show that they weren't paid to put bounds in.
Okay, well,
But Dave normally would,
Yeah.
go out and check, but there's
Yeah.
no indication even in file about that
yeah,
either.
But you know what? It's not just this place. Especially, I think during 2020, people went crazy. But what the land trusts are required to do is they are supposed to walk their perimeters, their boundaries once a year. Take
yeah.
pictures,
Yep.
make notice of any encroachments and such. And I think I pointed out some case law that allows you to do things if you go through court, which, I don't want to do. But the land trusts are required to do it as a nonprofit, and I suspect they'll be doing that with the towns not too long. And some towns do, like Weston, of course,
yeah.
and Wellesley. But there's a lot of encroachment onto
Oh, yeah.
conservation land, which makes me want to tear my hair out.
Yeah, I know Dave used to go out looking for boundaries, and he'd find something, and he'd put a big orange rag or something up, and they go looking for the next one, and put an...
Well, I would love to do that, but that sounds like way too much fun. I have to do all this administrative hoo-ha.
Yeah.
Usually two people are more efficient than.
Yes, it's more efficient with two, but
I'm very good at it,
I'll with him
actually.
and also see how he worked. He'd find one and put orange.
I'm really good at it. I have land up in New Hampshire. I've got 70 acres with ancient boundary lines, and I found it,
Yeah.
found them. So I
Can
think
be
it's great
done.
fun.
Yeah. All righty,
Clearly, Tom does too.
something for the summer.
Yeah.
Worst time.
Did I hear anything else? Did I hear a motion?
A motion to close the hearing.
Meeting.
Meeting. I knew I was saying the wrong thing when I started saying hearing. Couldn't think of the right word.
Yeah. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Oh,
Thank you.
and